So I will call this special meeting of the Pawtucket School Committee to order at 5:31. Ms. List, will you please take a roll call?
Ms. Finello.
Here.
Mr. Charbonneau.
Here.
Ms. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Knight. Mr. Larby.
Here.
Mr. Marino.
Here.
Ms. Doobie.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
First item is our public participation. Ms. List, do we have anyone signed up?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to new business discussion action items. Our first item is recommendation to award RTAs for Gilbane Winters Elementary School, RTA 039 doors, frames, and hardware. I see Holly and I believe Jared. Jared, are you taking this?
Hello.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry, you were breaking
Yes.
up for a little bit. Good evening. Thank you for calling a special meeting to allow me to present RTA 039 for doors, frames, and hardware. I truly appreciate everyone coming together to review this RTA tonight to help keep the project moving forward and keep us on schedule. I would like to note a little special thing. We are hitting quite a milestone here, as RTA 39 is actually going to be the final RTA. And after this, we will start putting together the final package for the project, the GMP.
Excellent. So would you like to walk us through RTA 039 doors, frames, and hardware?
Yeah, so it's the recommendation of Colliers to award RTA 039 doors, frames, and hardware to Columbus Door Companies of Warwick, Rhode Island, in the amount of $401,251.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's been a motion to approve RTA 039 to Columbus Door Company. It's been made by Mr. Larby, seconded by Mr. Marino. Discussion. Mr. Charbonneau.
Jared, on the Tavares LLC bid, it indicates 100% MBEWB participation only if install alternate is accepted. And
Yes.
their price is relatively close. I mean, it's within 3,000 of Columbus Door. So can you talk us through?
Yes. So there are two pieces to this. I'm sorry if I cut you off a little bit early there. The first piece to this is that the original bid value is how the bids come in their first attempt, and then there's a review meeting with Gilbane to go through and make sure that they've covered everything. And all three companies, Columbus Door, Park Rowway, and Tavares, had things that they were going to need to add into their bid. So Columbus Door's original bid value came in at $324,000, and then went up to about $401,000. Tavares came in originally at $405,000, and when speaking with Gilbane, they were missing similar items, so their bid would have increased in a similar amount, it is expected. And then, so that kind of talks a little bit to the similarities in cost. That actually jumped out to me as well, and I was concerned and was reassured that if their bid had come in, it would escalate similarly. Then regarding the 100% MBE if they install, so yes, there would be a chance that there would be 100% MBE, but the install is actually covered in a previous bid, the drywall bid, and this is standard. Gilbane has done this on a lot of different RTAs that we've seen come through, where they will ask multiple subs for bid pricing so that we can get the best pricing to install the products. So they often use a gypsum subcontractor to install the doors, frames, and hardware. And a lot of doors, frames, and hardware won't actually install it on their own. So for instance,
So I don't mean to interrupt, but just
sorry.
for my own clarification. So this award is for, in essence, the material?
Yes, this is to supply the doors, frames, and hardware to the site.
but
And
not
then
install them?
no, but the install cost is already covered in the gypsum bid that we had already done. They received a cost breakout of what it would be to remove the install from the gypsum bid work, the drywall bid work. And so if any of these, if the low bidder here had come in with a install cost that was less than what the drywall install cost would be, we could have subtracted the drywall install cost, the install from the drywall bidder, and applied it to this. So it was a way of trying to make sure that we get the lowest possible cost for the install of it.
I'm concerned that from an accountability standpoint, we're buying doors, hardwares, and I thought we had approved a framing RTA previously.
So we have drywall framing, and it is quite, so within the drywall framing is the gypsum, and that approved previous RTA did originally include to install the doors, frames, and hardware along with it, and it's often typical that that subcontractor will install the doors and frames and hardware along with it because it's a similar trade. It is pretty typical for doors, frames, and hardware companies to just supply the material. That being said, certain companies will provide the labor to install, and certain companies don't even give the option for the labor to install. So Tavares was asking to install it because they wanted the additional work in it, and they wouldn't supply the doors, frames, and hardware without the install cost.
Okay, so I misunderstood. When we awarded the framing RTA, I assumed that covers the frames. And so I'm a little concerned that it seems like we're piecemealing this together, and I guess really don't have a clear price as to what the doors are costing us, because the $405,000 that we're awarding tonight is in addition to a previous award that I don't recall mentioned installing doors. Does that make any sense?
It does, and I apologize if in one of the previous RTAs I did not go through every aspect of it. The drywall install covers a lot of different pieces and parts in their construction. I guess the simplest way to explain this would be that if this bid had come in with a lower cost to install, it would have been advantageous for us to go with this company. But I can say that there is an apples to apples aspect to the two final bids that we got, and Tavares did not want to bid it apples to apples.
And Madam Chair, if I could, one follow-up, Jared, and I apologize to my colleagues.
Nope.
No,
It's okay.
definitely, Mr. Charbonneau, continue.
Mhm.
So if there's a problem with the doors, who's accountable? The installer, or, because the installer is going to say the doors weren't manufactured correctly, and the manufacturer, these guys are going to say, nope, we built the right doors. It's the installers that didn't get it right. So
Nope, I hear that concern, I do. I can say that these doors and frames will be warranted by the installer for the install, and will be warranted as a manufacturer's defect by the manufacturer. So if there are any issues with anything here, it will be covered. And that's part of my job, is to go through and make sure that all of the doors that do come in properly, and when they are installed properly.
okay.
Jared, can you get us, our committee, a copy of, because I know we could probably all go back through, but can you please just send out to the committee a copy of the RTA that we did approve after this meeting, that we approved the framing? Yeah. Thank you. Any further questions? There's been a motion and it's been approved. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. List, will you please take a roll call?
Ms. Bonolo,
Yes.
Mr. Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ms. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Larby,
Yes.
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Ms. Doobie.
Yes. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Our second and last item is subcommittee appointments. So this is my item on the agenda. The Colliers reached out and let us know that we needed to act quickly on the doors because pricing was only good for a certain amount of time. And I did want to also move on this subcommittee appointment. I did reference at our last meeting that I would look to look at our subcommittees because I was chairing 2 of these subcommittees, and I don't think that I should continue to chair those 2 subcommittees and also chair this full committee. And as a result, I have changed who I have appointed to both policy and wellness. In addition, in conversations with Ms. Grant, she was very interested in kind of revisiting a committee we did have at one point, a special education subcommittee, and chairing that. And in addition, although I do think that having all 7 of us on facilities served a purpose, I think that moving forward, having fewer committee voices will allow the other voices on the facilities subcommittee to be heard more fully. And just to clarify, there have always been teachers on our facilities subcommittees. That is always been in effect. It's just that with 7 committee voices, it was, I think, sometimes harder to hear those teachers' voices. So just before I kind of read out what we have in front of us, I want to remind everyone that the subcommittee I will recommend to our committee who I believe our school committee members should be, but then per our policy, the subcommittee chairperson will appoint any other voting members they wish to, subject to approval of the chairperson. That's our current policy. In addition, all subcommittees can make recommendations for committee action, but no subcommittee can act without approval. It has to come to the full school committee. And I know we all know that. I'm just refreshing that. So as I said, our wellness subcommittee, I will no longer be chairing that. I've enjoyed chairing it, but Ms. Bonolo is going to step into chairing that, and I will sit on that subcommittee. Policy, I have very much enjoyed chairing that over the past 6 years, but I'm also really excited to turn that over to Mr. Larby, who has been a really active voice on the policy subcommittee, and I will no longer sit on policy. Ms. Bonolo will sit on policy. Ms. Grant has, like I said, expressed interest in chairing special education, and I will sit on that subcommittee. And facilities, Mr. Marino will chair facilities, but because we have so many projects going on, there will be different facilities subcommittees, one for each of our schools that we're working on, because each school has different teachers and a principal who sit on it. So Winters Elementary facilities subcommittee, as I said, Mr. Marino will chair all the facilities subcommittees, and myself and Ms. Bonolo will sit on Winters. Shea High School, Mr. Marino will chair. Yes, Mr. Knight? You're muted.
As committee chairman, you sit as ex officio members of all the subcommittees.
Can you repeat what you just said?
As committee chairman, you sit as an ex officio member of all committees.
I don't actually know what that means. So can you explain what you mean?
Ex officio means that you're a member of the committee that can participate at any time you choose to, if you choose to attend or not.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm still gonna make, these appointments here, and, I can be an ex officio member, for any of them, but as Mr. Charbonneau and Mr. Arujo, I know Mr. Charbonneau, did not come to any of our policy meetings, but obviously would have been welcome to attend. So, as I said, Shea High School, Mr. Marino will chair all the facilities, and Ms. Grant and Mr. Larby will also sit on that subcommittee. For Baldwin Elementary, Mr. Marino will chair, and Mr. Knight and Mr. Charbonneau will sit there. And then Mr. Marino will also chair a facility subcommittee that is for any other projects that Mr. Marino feels need to go to the subcommittee first. And I did consult with our attorney, and it is Mr. Marino's discretion on whether a project, because of timeliness, like this RTA, has to go right to the committee, or whether he believes it's important for the facility subcommittee to review it first, perhaps because it's going to be a timely process to review and he wants to work through it. But that other projects facilities committee will be with Mr. Knight and Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Manolo? You're still muted, Ms. Manolo. Sorry.
No, I got it. The annex is not on this list?
No, Mr. Marino, it may become, and per our policy, we can add subcommittees if we need them. Mr. Marino had expressed to me that since that conversation started with the 7 of us, and since it doesn't involve any teachers or other people on it, that we would just continue that conversation with the 7 of us as to what that swing space is. As I said, we were all in on those conversations on facilities. So that information will come here.
Okay, but shouldn't that be defined on the list?
No, as I said, if we do see a need to create another subcommittee that is just maybe 3 members that look at the annex, we definitely can add that.
Okay.
But as of now, that information is going to come right to our full committee.
Okay, thank you.
And so per our policy, it does say that that the subcommittees are established through action of the committee. So I would entertain a motion to approve this list of subcommittee appointments.
Motion to approve.
Second,
There's been a motion to approve by Mr. Charbonneau. It's been seconded by Ms. Vanolo. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, just one, and I'm sure that both you and Mr. Marino have already discussed it, but my only concern is that we have members of our Pawtucket School Department administration, our committee clerk, and our attorney who may be now attending 3-4 meetings a week because of the overlap on projects. So I would just ask that to the best that we can, that we kind of put these meetings, where we're not occupying a lot of our leadership team every night of the week.
Thank you, Mr. Charbonneau. And I do think that it is, we are doing so much work right now to have these 3 schools. And so I know that it does seem like a lot of facility subcommittees, but I do think that since the teachers have to be different for each one, that it is an opportunity for us to have different committee voices. But I do think being cognizant of the fact that that these might happen on one evening where we might have, a winter subcommittee meeting immediately followed by a Shea. So it's on one evening that they are involved. But also Dr. McWilliams may decide to have different people from her team represent her office at different meetings as well. But I definitely think that, quite honestly, as our policy says, if this isn't working for us, we can revisit this. So I think Mr. Marino feels like this is a good strategy moving forward for facilities, but if it isn't moving forward, then we can reconsider. But thank you for your concern. Any further discussion? Okay. There's been a motion to approve the subcommittee appointments. It's been seconded. Ms. List, will you please take a roll call?
Ms. Spinello,
Yes.
Mr. Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ms. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Larby,
Yes.
Marino,
Yes.
Ms. Doobie.
Yes. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Then a motion to adjourn by Mr. Charbonneau. It's been seconded by Mr. Knight and Ms. Grant. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 5:53. Enjoy your evening, and for those moving into policy, have a good policy meeting.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Everybody.